Welcome to the Chasing Joy Show. I am Arlett Hartie, blogger and joy strategist from chasing-joy.com, and also your host for the Chasing Joy Show. The Chasing Joy Show is an extension of the Chasing Joy blog and brand where I bring on interesting people, mostly women, who I feel are excellent examples of how to chase joy and or who have an interesting perspective that we can all learn from to help us chase joy a little better. And my guest for today is writer, educator, coach, instructor, Veronica Dinkins. She's a true Renaissance woman, and I'm going to ask her to unmute herself and turn on her camera and join the show. There
Hello.
she is.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Veronica. So before I formally introduce you, we're going to do my favorite icebreaker, which is always our first segment of the show, which is 2 truths and a lie. So I'm asking Veronica to give us 3 statements, 2 of which are going to be the truth and 1 is going to be a lie. And me and you guys who are watching live are going to try and guess which one is the lie.
All right, I made a list. Number 1, I did a commercial with Donovan McNabb. 2, I did the vagina monologues at the University of Ghana. 3, I ate the prop in the play Aladdin.
The prop one is funny, so I want that to be true, but I'm not sure. So for those of you who are watching the live stream and part of our virtual studio audience, Veronica and I are chatting through Zoom, and I'm live streaming to the private Chasing Joy Facebook group. So there's a few seconds delay. So I'm going to be sitting here thinking and mulling over these statements, and you guys let me know in the chat which one do you think is the lie. And I'm going to see if I can remember them, right? So this is always my memory test when I go to repeat the statements. So Veronica said she was in a commercial with Donovan McNabb. She said she was in the vagina monologues at the University of
Ghana.
And her third statement was that she ate the prop in Aladdin, right? Okay, so which one do you guys think is the lie? While I'm waiting for you guys to comment in the chat, I'll just shout out who I see watching. Hi, Miss Lily. Hi, Shane. Hi, Nell. So my guess, let's see. What do I think? All of these could be true. All of these really could be true. These are good ones. For some reason, I'm feeling like the commercial with Donovan McNabb might be true. I want the you eating the Aladdin prop to be true. I know you were in the vagina monologues. I believe we've talked about that before, but I don't remember where you said you did that. So it's tricky. So Miss Lily says she thinks that you eating the prop in Aladdin is the lie. Nell says the commercial with Donovan McNabb is the lie. All right, so I'm gonna split the difference. I'm gonna say that you doing the vagina monologues at the University of Ghana is the lie. So which one is it?
Ding, ding, ding.
I got it right?
Yes, you got it right. I did do the vagina monologues, and it was at Penn State. That's where I went for undergrad. However, while I was at the University of Ghana, I studied abroad there. I got to do the play for colored girls while I was over there, but it wasn't the vagina monologue, but it was the play for colored girls. So that was, I thought, that would be a good twist on things.
Yes, that was tricky. That was a good one. So what commercial were you in with Donovan McNabb?
So like I didn't have a speaking part. I was an
Mhm.
extra. So when they first built Lincoln Field, like within the first year or so that I came out of college, they did a commercial there. They filmed a commercial there for Visa, and they needed extras in the stands, and I got to be an extra in the stand. And
Oh, wow.
so that was like one of the first, I've done a lot of extra work, but that was probably one of the first ones that I got experience to do. Called out of work to do it. And I mean, I was actually in line waiting to be checked in to the studio, and I'm like, I don't feel well. So I'll never forget that. So that's something that I did. And in high school, I was in a play of Latin, and my friends and I we were part of the chorus part of the Latin. So we were like market people. So we had to like carry like bread, like French bread and all that different stuff. And it was like, it was real French bread in our arms. And I don't know if we were just hungry or what, but it was just like you're just grabbing little pieces off. And we're like, finally, I think we end up painting over it with clear nail polish so it could just be like
Oh,
not
wait.
touchable.
So y'all weren't supposed to be eating it.
No, 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 we weren't. It was just supposed to be like carrying it through the marketplace in the background. And, like
Right.
one
You were
thing is
really,
like when you're like background people, you have so much time on your hand, like you're not really doing anything. So if you're hungry or anything, you're
oh.
just
So
like,
y'all were eating the bread behind the scenes.
yeah,
I thought you were eating it like while you were on stage. I was about to say
no,
y'all were really committed to your
no,
part. You're
no. It was
really
just
eating
like,
it.
you know what? This feel kind of soft. Like, let me tear this piece off.
That's so funny.
So, yes.
So I think I think you might be the first one this of the whole season where I guessed the lie. I'm
Yeah.
gonna give myself a pat on the back for that. All right, so now we've gotten to know a little bit about Veronica. I'm going to go ahead and officially introduce her. So Veronica Dinkins has been teaching for 16 years. She is currently an ESL teacher coordinator. She is certified in ESL reading at elementary K through 6. She holds a BA in psychology from Penn State University, a master's in education from Arcadia University, and an elementary K through 6 certification from University of Pennsylvania. In addition to teaching, she has worked in fitness since 2012. She believes that being able to name our emotions helps us deal with them in constructive ways. And I'm reading her official bio from her book, Everybody
Everybody.
Gets Nervous. Hopefully you guys can see this the right way. I never know with Zoom how things are
You can see it. It's a little bit
showing
of
up,
a
if they're
glare, but
showing up
you can
backwards or
see it.
forward. And okay, good. And I linked to Veronica's Amazon for buying her book in the heading of this for those who are watching the live stream on Facebook. So the reason why I invited Veronica to be on the show, which obviously she's qualified from all her accolades that I just read, but I invited her on the show because I feel like she's a true Renaissance woman. And to be sure, I actually Googled Renaissance man to make sure that I was using the word properly, and I'm definitely using it. I've known Veronica for many years now. I'm not sure how many. I feel like over 10 years maybe, but a while, a long time. And in the time that I've known her to do like everything. She like just like, her bio, she works in education. Like from the Two Truths and a Lie, I heard she's been an actress, She's been a fitness instructor. She's written a book. She's an excellent MC. And low key, I have plans for Veronica to host something for me for Chasing Joy at some point. I don't know when it's going to be or when, but at some point in the future, when the world opens back up, we can go outside. She will host something for me. She's done stand-up comedy, African dance. Like, she's a great baker. I've actually hired her to make, I believe it was mini cheesecakes with for my friend's bridal shower, and they were amazing. She truly does. She has her hand in everything. She's a true Renaissance woman, and I love how she like relentlessly pursues the things that she finds interesting in. And I think that we can all learn a little bit about how to do that so that we can have more interesting things going on in our life, things that give us joy. So that's why I invited Veronica to be on. So officially, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so you've tried so many things, and I feel like most of us, and I'll include myself, we have ideas and we see things and we're like, oh, that would be cool. And then that's just the end of it. We don't actually pursue it and go forward and try any of these things for many reasons, but largely because we get nervous, right? Like your book says, everybody gets nervous. So do you ever get nervous? And if you do, how do you manage that and still pursue all these, different things?
Well, it's funny. Interviews make me nervous. So so all the things that I do, people are like, oh, you're on stage, oh, you've emceed this, you've like read poems at funerals, at weddings. And I'm like, and I hate being interviewed, especially like on like for jobs. And because I think I always feel I could write a book on job interviews too. I always get nervous because I always feel like somebody wants me to say something that I'm somebody that I feel like I'm kind of I like to just be to the point, and once I have something, like once I've said it, I've said it. So if you ask me like the same question like 3 times, then I start to get real nervous because I'm like, okay, I must not be saying what you want me to say. And now I'm like, I don't know what you want me to say because I told you how I felt about that. So but I will say that
Right.
I will say that my motto is that I don't have to like it. So if I try something, I can just not like it and not do it again, whether it's food or new activity. I'll just say, I'll just try it, and either I like it or I don't. And, but at least it's off my list. I don't have to wonder about it anymore. I've tried it. And also just realizing like in recent years, just even trying not to burn myself out, like, okay, everything that you try doesn't have to end in a certificate or a degree, or sometimes you could just take the workshop. Like sometimes you could commit to 6 weeks or 8 weeks for a class, but sometimes like I took a stage combat workshop, and it was just for the day, and I had fun, and it was all I needed. And it was, again, because I was interested in acting, and I wanted to know like how are people doing these scenes on stage, and I took this workshop, and I didn't regret it. It was very fun. And so I've had things that I've tried and I'm fine with just the workshop. And then there's other things where I'm like, you know what, let me try 6 to 8 weeks of that. And if I still like it after 6 to 8 weeks, I'll continue. Or sometimes after 6 to 8 weeks is just enough for me to just wet my palate with it, and I'm good with it. But it's mostly because I say to myself, I know that everything I try I may not like, and it's okay. I've tried it. Now I know. So it's the same thing with food. You try something and you're like, okay, won't be ordering this again. And that's just, or I might be ordering this every time I come to this particular restaurant. So that's how I look at all the different things. And it kind of started in college, because at my high school, I went to a Catholic high school. We didn't have a lot of extra activities that a lot of like the district that I grew up in, like a lot of my cousins had classes that I didn't get offered until I got to college. So like people who took ceramics, people who took home ec, like all those different things, like a lot of public schools already had built into them. Like I didn't have that choice of a class until college. So it's like, so when I got to college, it was just more like I wanted to try not just the work that I needed for the degree, but I wanted to try different classes that I never had before. And even then, like the ceramic classes would fill up fast. So I never got to do a ceramic class as an undergrad because it will always be full. But
Right.
as a substitute teacher, I remember I had a boy that I worked as a one-on-one with, and he had like a ceramic class as a one-on-one. So the teacher's like, "Hey, make this project with us." So I got to make my own cup and everything, and I was really happy.
They
'Cause I
finally
was
got
like,
to do
"Oh,
it.
I finally got to do it." So it's just I just always just feel like life is short, so why not try it?
So basically, what I'm taking from what you're saying is that if you give yourself kind of like an exit plan and permission to use it, that kind of helps manage the fear of trying something new. Like by saying, okay, I'm only going to have to do it this one time. And if I don't like it, like you're giving yourself permission to like let it go.
Yes, yes.
I like that.
Because it's just one of those
This
things. Like
reminds me, sure. Go ahead.
it's just one of those things that I think sometimes we can overthink something. And it's just like, even like new restaurants, it's like, okay, like I could really, really like it or I could not, and we've done restaurant week a lot. So like I could really like the restaurant and really want to return to it. And sometimes that 1 week experience in that restaurant was all that I needed. But it's just, why sit and wonder if like you really can do it? Like, unless it's like
Right.
something like I want to try skydiving, but I'm scared. So, so I did do indoor skydiving, but at
Okay.
least that fear has a lot to do with surviving it, not whether like
Yes.
I like it or not. So those
Right.
are the types of things that I'm more like, okay, like I really don't want to hurt myself, but
So, as your friend, I'm going to ask you to not do skydiving and stick to the indoor one. Um, but when you're talking about, give yourself kind of permission to like leave something, reminded me when I first started the Chasing Joy blog, and it was still like a secret, no one knew about it. I took adult ballet
oh,
I
nice.
can't talk. I took adult ballet lessons, and because I had never had the opportunity to do that as like a little girl, and I guess like a lot of other little girls, like, oh, I want to be a ballerina. So I took these classes as an adult, and it was fun, but like I'm not a small girl. So it was really rough on my knees,
Yes.
like some of those poses. And so after about 4 weeks, I think I had signed up for like a 6 or 8 week class. So after 4 weeks, I said, I did it. I'm glad I did it, and I'm done. And I
Yeah,
didn't feel
it's
bad about
weird.
it. And I still today feel proud and happy that I actually tried that. So we have a few comments already. Ms. Lily said that she was an ESL student when she first came to the country. So she can appreciate what you do. A few people are saying hi. Tim said hi. Nell said hi. Nell said, yes, you're well-rounded. And Miss Lily said she loved taking ceramics class when she was in high school. So she was one of those lucky ones you're talking about who got to take the
Yes.
ceramics class. So, and all these things that you've tried, do you feel like any one of those things in particular is your passion, or is your passion trying new things?
I always tell people I think my passion is creativity. I like creating things, and not just in one form or another. I just like creating things. So I like doing different things with my hair. I like playing with makeup. I like playing with my nails. I like, trying out different outfits. And, so I just like putting my creativity to the test sometimes. And, it's just something that I feel like I have to feed in some way. So, and in some years I'm feeding it just through my hair or my nails, and other years I'm writing a book, and or I did Veronique's acronym of the week for a few years, and I was starting the week with an acronym that I made up, and I would, write this out and put it out like every Monday or so. And now they're showing up in my newsfeed a lot, and I'm looking back like, wow, okay. So, and I remember doing it at that time because I didn't feel like I had enough time to write. So I was like, okay, if I do these acronyms, I'm feeding that writing passion. So even though it's not something big, it's like, okay, I'm still feeding that passion. So I started doing that acronym of the week, and it was just, something positive to do. And, I really, enjoyed it. And, and then, with the age of Facebook, you get to post it and see, how it's received. So it was really, really nice. So, I would say I do like trying new things, and like certain things, like I took a fencing class like a few years back. I really enjoyed it. It just didn't fit into my schedule to continue it, but I took it with one of my friends, and we just had a blast doing the class. And, I really enjoyed it. So, I just like trying different things. And again, sometimes I try them and I really would like to continue them. Other times I'm like, okay, that was enough. So, yeah, I like
So
creativity. And
I like what you said about creativity being your passion and creating things. I feel like a lot of us are really stifled in terms of creativity, or we feel we're not creative because we maybe haven't found the creative outlets that we like. But I know from my personal experience, when I started writing Chasing Joy, just being able to be creative with my words and having a creative outlet gave me so much more happiness in terms of just my overall quality of life and how I spent my time. Because sometimes what we might do for our day job might not be the most creative thing. It might be, routine, and like my specific day job, it's heavily regulated and certain have to do things a certain way, written a certain way, and it's not a whole lot of, doing things in your own style. So just finding some kind of creative outlet, I found greatly increased my happiness. And I think that would be helpful for a lot of people. So I really like what you said about, creativity and all the different ways you can be
yes, like it's not just
creative. It's,
one
it's
way.
not like always just being a painter or a writer, right? It's how you express yourself. Like you said, your hair, your nails, how you put together an outfit, making up recipes and different things like that. Like so many different ways to be creative. So of all the things that you've, tried as of late, I'll say over the last few years, what do you feel is what you're most kind of proud of?
I am really happy that I followed through on my book. It's something that I have been thinking about for years, and I'm 41, and I made a 40 before 40 list like when I was like 39, and and I said, you know, um, writing a children's book was part of those 40 items, and
Nice.
and it was like something that I wanted to tick off the list. But then, once I started, brainstorming it, and then last year I brainstormed it in October of 2019. And then, I'm just a very busy person. So like, one thing I will say is that for writing, I've always been like, I'm just going to write. And then if I walk away from it, I walk away from it, but I can always come back to it and finish it. So it's like, so that's how I've done poetry and different things, because sometimes you have to walk away and come back, and then you have even more ideas. And, I have a pretty busy life. So October 2019 is when I started to put Everybody Gets Nervous together. And then in February, I had emergency surgery that put me out of work for like 6 weeks. And I really couldn't do anything. It was like the first time in my life, like I really couldn't do anything. So I was like, okay, like again, that thing where you just want to feel like you can do something. So it's like, okay, you got this thing that you was working on, you didn't finish, and it's the one thing that you can do that, like, because I had abdominal surgery. So it was like, okay, I can't really sit up as tall as I want to sit up. So different things, you're like, what can I do that that I can, take up some of my time while I'm sitting here. So I said, you know what, let me see if I can draw pictures that go with the words that I already wrote. And then I was just like, I'm just gonna have some fun. And I had some color pencils, and I was just, putting my ideas to paper that I wanted. And then just I kept at it. And then one night I was, done with the pictures, and I had written out my words on top of the pictures, and I had videotaped myself reading it, and I sent it to a guy friend of mine and a girlfriend of mine, and my parents. And I just wanted to know what their opinions were. So, they were giving me their opinions of it. And then I was just like, okay, after that process, I was like, okay, now I need to copyright it. So I copywrote it, sent it down electronically to DC to be copyrighted. And as soon as that was approved, I started putting my fillers out to different publishers and inquiring, because I actually knew a few other people that were writing books. So I was just reaching out to people and asking them, suggestions on who to use. And the student teacher publishing company is who I went with, and she's actually she's also a teacher. So she's a fellow teacher in Maryland, and she owns her own publishing company. So I thought that was kind of cool, because I had different people I was contacting, and I end up, going the independent publishing route, and I used the student teacher to do that. And then once that happened, that started that whole process of, giving her the materials and editing, and all that took probably between midsummer to about December. We went through all the editing, and then we published it, and now it's in the stores and ready to go.
And on Amazon, you guys can click
Yes,
the link in the description for the live.
yes, it's on
So
Amazon, it's on Books A Million, Walmart.com. So
you can definitely get it.
yes.
As you were talking, you reminded me of something. So years ago, I was at a blog conference, and I don't remember who the speaker was. It was a woman, and she was saying something about something happened, and like she like literally fell on her face and had
Mhm.
to go to the hospital or whatever. And she basically, the point of her story was like how sometimes God allows things to happen that forces us to slow down
Yes.
so that we can do things. So as you were talking about your experience where, you're recovering and you can't do anything. So you said, oh, well, let me work on my book, get my illustrations and stuff together.
Yeah.
So it's just funny how sometimes things fall into place that way, even while we're going through, difficult or tumultuous
Yes, I
time.
definitely felt like that was definitely that time where it was like, sit down and finish it. Because you might have had me on here, and I would be talking about something else. Because, it's just one of those things where, again, I have a lot of pieces of writing that I just, like I've written a screenplay that I've never submitted yet, because it was never formatted
Really?
the right way. So
Uh-huh.
so I wanted to do something called, and I don't know if it still goes on, but film.org in Philadelphia used to have they used to have a contest called Set in Philadelphia. So you were supposed to write a screenplay, and it had to be set in Philadelphia. So so I had written this screenplay like probably like 10 years ago. And like I wrote it, and then I remembered when I came back to it, I was like, wow, this is dated. Like I can't even, like, some of this stuff doesn't even, people will be looking at like, what is she talking about? Because this is like,
Or it could be a period piece. Like now there's
it
all
could
these
be a period piece.
shows that are like that take place in different points in history,
Hmm.
or like that that Wonder Woman movie that everybody said was awful, including myself. I think it was awful, but it was set in 1984.
Hmm.
So you can
Yes,
still do it.
you're
It just
right.
like
So
the
it was
setting
just,
is 19 whatever or 2000 and
yes,
whatever.
yes. But so I have this thing sitting, hanging in space right now. But I have definitely like written a lot of different things. And, in college, I did take a screenwriting class. And, so I got a chance to, I've had chances to write over the years. And after college, I was more pursuing more performance art. So even though I would be writing poetry, it was like, and I would do like open mics and things with friends. I really was just like, it wasn't like, oh, I want to be a poet. I was just like, I'm just doing poetry. So like after college, I was doing more like training for the stage and trying to get extra work, trying to just do all these different things performance wise.
The idea of an open mic sounds terrifying to me. I feel like that's so brave to do
Well, it is.
So in the process of writing, go ahead.
It is an open mic is because you're like, wow, like they're gonna be, but then everybody's like, I think it's a stage where you have such a range of talent. But then like some places, like when I used to go down to the 5 spot, I don't know if you ever been there, but
yeah,
but the 5 spot, that's like where like Jill Scott and them were like on stage, like before they were like people knew them. And I'm like, so people like that go on stage and you're sitting like, I don't want to go on.
Right, I could see that. So during the process of writing the book, what would you say was the most challenging aspect of it?
Just editing the pictures and getting the pictures to be exactly what I wanted them to be. So so we had a lot of collaborations, a lot of can you do this differently? And just because I just had a vision of what I wanted to look like. And just, trying to get someone to understand your vision, because you have a vision in your head. So just trying to get someone to understand the vision that you have in your head and what you want it to say. So that was the most challenging part.
Yeah, I can't even imagine, like sometimes just articulating your vision for something, period, is hard to just find the words, but then to be able to articulate it and then get someone else to understand it definitely seems like a huge challenge,
Especially when you're not in person.
So right, we're in this whole virtual environment too.
Yes. So, and I mean, like when I say not in person, like only one time where we like Zooming together, like everything was mostly through emailing and things like that. So it was just like, okay, I really want you to understand.
Yeah, and that's really hard because then things get lost in translation.
So it's just, so those are the things that,
when you're
again,
not
like you
speaking.
said, when I pictured myself writing a book, I always pictured myself in an office with someone and sitting next to them, and we're just leaning over it, and like those how you pictured it. You didn't picture like what we're kind of doing right now, but it's still kind of awesome that we're able to carry things out, even though it's not in the format that we're thinking of. So
you know what, and that's like a life lesson right there. Like things so rarely actually look how we expect them to, and sometimes we don't move forward because we're expecting something to be a certain way, and then we just kind of get paralyzed. But that's like a lesson right there. Like you weren't creating it in the way that you thought, but you still push forward, and I'm holding the book, right?
Yes.
So you got it done, which is just like amazing. So if you had to give anybody like a couple of tips about who was interested in writing a book, what would you offer?
To just pick up your pen and write or type, whatever you like doing. Like I mean, some people are just like, I can't do, like for me, I feel like it's easier to write a children's book, but I mean, it's not easy, but it's easier to me to write a children's book than a novel. But through the process of writing the children's book, I'm like, oh, this is definitely not as easy as I thought. But I just think with writing in general, it's just easier to just pick up your pen and start writing. And again, like it doesn't have to be great the first time you write it. Like you can always edit it. So it's like it's never really finished sometimes. So you can always keep going back. So I think the main tip is just to start. So, you know, like there's people writing books on every topic that you can think of and imagine. So it's just like, if you could just get your thoughts down, or, I know my mom was, she tells me all the time, like different things, because, I always have a story. So she's always like, you need to just write that down because you might need it in 10 years. Like,
Right, that's true.
and it was funny because I was going through, I made a scrapbook from my college years. And, I went to the University of Ghana for a semester. So this is like the other day, I'm flipping through the scrapbook, and then I see this guy's business card, and it's like, Thanksgiving '01, date from HELL. So and then I started laughing so hard, and then I like text like a couple of my friends, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I just found this card. And then and it was funny because I forgot all about it until that moment, like that experience. And I'm like, yeah, that was a crazy experience. Like that it definitely could have been
That's
in a
so
movie.
funny. That's so funny. I have this, it's not an idea I'm actively working on, but I've said it a couple times, like, oh, I should put together like an anthology of all these bad date stories, because I have a ton and my friends have a ton, and you even have a souvenir from your
Yes.
bad date, the business card.
And I was just like, because it's like one of those things, like in a nutshell, like I'm in a foreign country, someone asked me out on a date. He picks me up from my dorm, and I assume that we're going to a restaurant, right? Like that he's going to take me to a restaurant, we're going to eat.
Right.
And in this car ride, he's like, no, I'm going to make you dinner. And then I'm like,
Oh.
oh. like I'm going to your house. Like, I don't even do this at home. Like, so then we get to his house. His neighborhood is all black because the neighborhood's in a blackout.
Oh,
So
like
I'm like, so
literally
then,
black, like no lights. I was
yeah, no,
thinking like black people.
no, it's a whole blackout going on in his
Okay.
neighborhood. So I was just very uncomfortable with being in someone's house that I don't know that well, and it's a blackout. And he kept asking me, did I want to take a tour of the house? And I'm like, it's dark.
Like I can't see the house.
I'm good. Would you like some wine? Like, no, I'm good. I'm okay. No wine. So it was just one of those things where like it was just funny because you just know that like this person, and like, I don't remember what happened after that. Like I'm sure he knew I wasn't enjoying myself. So but it was just more of like I was just so like not comfortable. This was not the optimum date. And then I was like, dang, I didn't remember that it was on Thanksgiving Day. But I do remember I kept telling the guy, like, yeah, my parents, I'm supposed to call them at 11. So, like, I should be back. Like, I should get back to my door.
I so love that you have a souvenir from this bad date.
It was funny. It was funny. It wasn't funny at the time, but it was funny afterwards. But because it was just one of those things where I was like,
It was never funny in the moment.
no, it wasn't funny in the moment. I was like,
Yeah.
but yeah. So my
I
mom always says, document your
write it
stuff so that.
down. Yes. I like I'm single, and I've always tell people like I'm willing to be fixed up. I don't mind like a blind date because I feel like I'll either have a good time or a good story.
Yes.
So either way, I would get something out of it. Now I'm going to start keeping souvenirs though, because I like that. Because I've only ever kept souvenirs from good dates, but like, you know what? I should keep a souvenir from the bad date, because when it becomes, once you have that distance from the event where now it can be funny, it's like a funny, you have a little funny anecdote when you see the
It
business
was
card.
funny. I just started laughing as soon as I saw it. I'm like, I kept this? And it was just like, but the scrapbook that I made, I remember like the purpose in making it was that I wanted to remember the things that I had soldiered through too. So it wasn't just like all these great things that I did, like, oh, you soldiered through some things even, and then when you think you forget about them, like, so again, you have fear of different things, and then you look back on different things and you say like, well, I did that, I did this, and I did that, and I survived.
Yes.
Like, and that isn't even like the most craziest story I have from that trip. So it's just like, So that's what made it even more funny. Like, that's not even the craziest thing that happened. Like, so it's just
I love that you said that you I love that you said you soldiered through it. That was one of my dad's phrases all the time. Like anything you don't want to do, he'd be like, hurry up and do it. You know, come on, you gotta soldier it. You gotta just soldier through. And I don't often hear people use that phrase, so I like that. Um, I also like what you said about keeping your scrapbook about it wasn't just like a highlight reel, like showing you the things that you've overcome. Because I think remembering those times is often what helps us through hard times, because then it's like a reminder, like I can do hard things and get through them. And not only can I have evidence because I did it before, and you can kind of look back on those past times where you got through. And it helps, I think, also with kind of boosting your faith too, because it's like, God brought me through all these things in the past, so you know he's not gonna
here I go
suddenly let me
again.
go down. Like it's just we're just gonna soldier on, right? I love that. So we've talked a lot about your book, but as I told everyone, you're a Renaissance woman, so you have multiple interests. And I know one of the things that you've been working on lately is restorative yoga. You mentioned that to me a few times over the last few months. So why don't you share, like, what is that? I've never even heard of that before you mentioned it.
Well, restorative yoga, you know, different forms of yoga concentrate on different things. And restorative yoga concentrates on the parasympathetic nervous system. And I don't know if you ever heard of people say your flight or fight system. So when we're stressed, our body goes into our fight or flight system. So the same way you feel when you think a dog's going to attack you and you want to run down the street, like that is what stress does to your body. And if you don't like take yourself out of that stress cycle, and you're just, you know, you're permanently or 80% of your week, you're in this type of fight or flight, then it wreaks havoc on your nervous system and and it makes you more like, you know, more prone to inflammation, prone to, you know, getting sick. And so with restorative yoga, it's a lot of deep breathing practices and holding your body in different positions to relax certain parts of your body. And the difference between that and other forms of yoga is that you're actually supporting yourself. So you're using props like pillows and different, you know, shaped blankets to support you as you sit in a position. Because when you sit in these positions, they're like longer, at least 3 minutes or more, or in a position. So you are being supported so that it's not like if you do like downward dog, you like doing downward dog for like 3 minutes will be intense. But but like some of the moves that you're doing, like just, you know, just even if you're laying in the corpse pose on the ground and you're just deep breathing and belly breathing, again, you're just bringing some relief to your system. And you know, when you do it, it not only relaxes you, but sometimes it also, different moves also like energize you. It's like almost giving your body a nap, you know. So on different days I've used it to relax myself. I've used it to just, you know, if I know that, okay, my day's not over, but I need like a boost to continue. So I got certified to teach it last summer, and I'm working on some creative ways in which I would like to present it to the world. And I know that I would like it to involve making some videos that I can present for people to follow. And that is a work in progress. So that's what I'm working on.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly, because I am not a yoga fan.
Yes.
Because yoga is hard.
And this one, and so this is
I
not.
I always like exercises. Like I like Zumba and things that are more fast paced.
Yes.
Because then I don't have time to think about that it hurts.
Yes.
And that it's uncomfortable. So with yoga, all that like slow movement and breathing and centering in my head, I'm just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, what's over? So with restorative yoga, it sounds like because you're being supported, it's not quite as intense on your muscles.
Yeah, so it's like giving your a stretch, like a deeper stretch to your muscle, but it's not like this is not the yoga for you if you're trying to like if you're like some yoga really does like tone you up and do all these different things. Like this is not that yoga. This yoga is really about teaching you to be still. So a lot of us, we don't take time to be still, and that keeps us from, you know, healing and from, you know, de-stressing. And so this like is, you know, it's all about, you know, giving your body a moment to recuperate and be still. So so it's not like you're not gonna like stand in a cartwheel or anything like that. It's just, you know, it's just different positions that you're doing. And you know, it's a lot of deep breathing, and I actually been doing a lot of the deep breathing exercises for the last 3 weeks. So I just been like just at my desk or different areas, just doing it just to just woosah. But you know, so it's definitely different, and I would encourage anybody to try it just because it's not really like, oh, only if you're this size can you do it. So so I would definitely encourage people to try it.
I think I'm going to look into it and at least maybe learn a couple poses. I had my first, well, not first ever, but my first recent appointment with a nutritionist on Thursday. We did like a Zoom meeting, and so we were just talking about my health overall, and she was like, "How is your stress?" And I laughed because my stress is crazy right now with you know, being a mom
Yes.
and working from home and a whole pandemic. And one of the reasons she was asking about the stress, and she was explaining, similar to what you said a few moments ago about, you know, how the stress negatively impacts our body. And she said specifically when we have too much stress, it raises our cortisol levels. And cortisol is a hormone that makes you hold on to fat.
Yes.
So I guess like leftover from caveman days, like if you're getting stressed out because, you know, you're not finding food as frequently as you have been, it's like, oh, well, we better hold on to this fat because we might be in a famine, you know, kind of thing. And now, you know, your body doesn't know the difference. They're like, oh, she has a whole refrigerator full of food that she's eating too much. So we don't need to hold on to this fat. Your body isn't smart enough to know that. So I definitely need to incorporate more stress reducing activities in addition to like the other lifestyle changes that I talked about with the
It's
nutritionist.
so important. Like I was saying to someone recently, I belong to a Facebook group of women working together to lose weight, and someone was like getting down on themselves for gaining weight, and I was, you know, because I feel like I emotionally eat, so
Yes,
I
me
was
too.
saying to the person to like, if you like, part of self-care is more than like your physical, it's your mental and your spiritual. So if you work on feeding all of them, then you may not go for that extra whatever you feel like you're doing that might be putting it on, because you know sometimes we think of health just being in this one area, and you need, you know, your health encompasses all of it. So like we need our mental health, we need our spiritual health, we need our physical health. So like you need to feed all of them, and many of us don't. So you know, so it's just like, I think that, you know, I think when you are feeding those things, then you are using multiple ways to deal with stress. So like for me, you know, the fact that we are working from home and I can eat because of stress, we're like, you know, so like it's there. Whereas like if I was, when I'm, if you're in a work building and you're stressed, you usually don't have time to stop and eat. So I tell people it's either one or the other. It's either I'm so stressed that I can't eat, or I'm so stressed and the chocolate's right there. So, but you know, but I meal prep so that I can grab something more nutritious if I do feel that way. Or I won't, like, you know, I won't say I can't have something. I just won't keep it in my house. So it's like if I really want it, I have to take the trip to the store to get it. So
Right.
so I won't say I can't, I won't ever do this type of thing. I'll just say, you know what, you have to take that trip to do it. So, and it's funny how like it's certain days where I'm like, nope, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like getting in my car and
It's like
getting back.
putting a barrier in place.
Yes.
Right.
Or,
Right. Like you
last
put a
year
barrier there.
when we first quarantined, I was like, okay, I would go to the store and I would buy a box of cake mix, and I would say, okay, I'm not going to buy the Entenmann's cake. I'll buy a box of cake mix, and I have to make the cake if I want it.
Right.
And then it's like,
So you
so
had
then
to
you get to
earn
that time period,
it.
like, nope, I don't feel like baking it. So, but it's just different. Everybody has their own different strategies, but meal prepping is what keeps me in line most of the
Yes.
time. As soon as I stop meal prepping, it's, I'm grabbing whatever is there,
Right.
whatever's easy.
So we've been talking for a little while, so I want to open it up. I know some people have been commenting in the chat on the live stream. So for those of you who will see this later, when it's posted to YouTube, only the people who are part of the Chasing Joy private group get to be part of the live studio audience for the Chasing Joy show. So they get to see it live. We're recording this at mid-January, toward the end of January. And you guys will be seeing it a bit later, those who catch it on YouTube. So if you want to see the Chasing Joy show as it's happening, you're going to want to join the private group, and I will share the link for that in the YouTube comment section when it's posted. So if you guys have any questions for Veronica or myself related to what we just been talking about, just go ahead and drop them in the live stream chat here on Facebook. And I'm going to scroll through and see if there's any comments that I missed while we've been talking. So my brother Shane said he read that every first draft is bad, that you go back and edit and make it good. So that's a good tip for you're writing your book. I heard something similar to that too. I heard that when you're writing a book, just write. Don't worry about any kind of editing. Just write and get it all out, and then go back. So that seems to be common advice. So my Aunt Faith is watching. She says, "So funny, the date stories." Good book material. Yeah, we might have to have like a collaborative anthology with all my friends.
Yes,
And,
that would be funny.
put these bad dates down. I did document a couple of them on the blog.
I actually got creative
People were
with
saying
it.
that it was funny. Oh yeah.
I got creative with it. I have ideas that I've already written down.
Okay.
But
Yeah, we need to make this happen. To make it happen. Miss Lily says everyone has a bad date story along the way. Yes. Um, she said it's a good idea of keeping a scrapbook and keeping souvenirs from both good and bad times. Nell says she likes the soldier through. She says I like that. Shane said he's seen that with prayer journals. To look back on what the Lord has brought you through is amazing. That's really interesting. I've never kept a prayer journal about things I have prayed for. I keep like a written prayer list of things and people that I am praying for, but that's a good idea, the prayer journal. Maybe when I have Shane on the Chasing Joy show, we'll talk about that. Miss Lily says she likes the restorative yoga idea. Nell
yeah,
says
it's
restorative
excellent.
yoga, yes. So yeah, when you start to develop more videos and like fine tune it and are ready to share, definitely drop them here in the group because clearly people want to see them,
I
including
definitely
myself.
will. Definitely will. And I think the more that people talk about it, the more people, I just think a lot of things people are like, oh, never heard of that, and
Right.
and it's
Like
like
there's
soon
so
as
many types of yoga, but we tend to only hear about like maybe one or two.
yes, so many different types, and I do think a lot of people are like, well, or somebody, was just like, isn't it just stretching? Why is it was just funny. But
And I guess it is just stretching, but it's with a combination of breathing.
breathing, and it was developed like a very, very long time ago in history.
Yeah.
And so, they have specific names for their different positions. But
Right.
one thing that I thought was I was thinking about it recently,
It's like intentional stretching.
intentional stretching and intentional breathing, because I know like recently I was
Right.
like, how beautiful it is that this can restore your body. Like you're restoring your body with what God gave you. Like, you know what I mean? You're
Right.
like you're using your breath to bring your system back to what it should be. Like, how beautiful is that?
Mhm.
Like, it's not saying take
That
a
is
pill. It's like we're using our breath to bring us back to where we
your
need to
breath.
be. So like, I just was thinking like, like anybody that
Yeah, I mean,
questions
it's
like,
all about breath.
yeah. So I
The breath of life.
definitely like, yep, definitely encourage people to try it.
My Aunt Faith says, she's talking about the dating story. She says those survival stories help make you the beautiful, strong woman you are today, women of substance, purpose, soldier.
Oh, thank you.
Uh, my niece Shayna, she says, I love your makeup.
Oh, thank you so much.
Miss Lily says, a good reflection. She says, a good reflection on your body and mind. I think she's talking about the restorative yoga there. She says, it helps you to de-stress your body better. Nell says that I might like it. And she said, like Veronica said, just try it once if you haven't. I'll try it once. I can agree to try it at least once.
Listen, I did do it with a friend, one of my best friends. Um, I got to do some with her over the phone, and she did like it. And so,
Mhm.
like maybe like a week or so ago, she's like, "You really need to put some videos together." So, she really liked it. So I was like, "Okay."
So maybe a week or so ago, the lady who does the meditation practice, who's done a couple Chase and Joy events, was just I don't remember how we were communicating. So many ways to communicate these days. It might have been a Facebook Messenger or text. But we were talking, and as I was talking to her, I was like, oh, I should do a wellness event. So maybe I'll put together some kind of virtual wellness event, and Veronica can do some restorative yoga for us,
That would be
and
nice.
Allison can do some meditation, and maybe I'll do like a vision board thing or something. I don't
And
know.
I've seen someone do
Brainstorming.
that before.
Hmm.
I forget the name of the group, but it's the group. I don't know. I have a sweatshirt for it, but it's encouraging people to walk for Harriet. Like it was like
Oh, I know who you're
they've done something similar to
talking
that
about.
where like
Yes.
it's like they
It's like
tag
a
team.
women's group.
It was like a virtual tag team of instructors. So
Hmm.
I thought that was pretty cool. Kind of like you
Yes.
can do it like a cipher, like a instructor cipher. And then have each person come on screen and just do their
Right.
thing.
Whenever I hear the word cipher, I just like imagine somebody like dressed like old school Run DMC. um, Janice says she has a desire to do a scrapbook as well for all of her kids' accomplishments. Yeah,
Awesome.
I have. She just reminded me, I have a baby book for baby Joy Chaser that I order, and it's so nice that I'm scared to write in it, which completely defeats the purpose.
That is
So
funny.
I need to get on that.
And this scrapbook was really just I really kind of made it myself. So it really is
Hmm.
just it was really just a binder that I put sheet protectors in, and I just started stuffing things. So this has everything. It'll be like it'll have like my application for like I had to apply to go abroad, so I had to write an essay to go abroad, and I was like reading the essay like, oh okay, like that's what I said, like okay, like and just different things. It'll have like invitations to weddings. It'll have you know it'll have just obituaries from family members. So it just has a whole bunch of different things. It has, I know you're talking about another crazy memento. Like I had malaria when I went abroad. So I brought back the medicine box and the medical certificate. But they had told me, like, I got it like right before we came home. So they were like, make sure you get retested when you get home. We're pretty, they were pretty sure that I was going to be okay because I had medicine. But I was
Right.
like, I'm not throwing this box away. If something ever happens, I can tell this doctor to use
Like,
it.
this is what I had. Well, you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to bring your medicine
But yeah, that was just something else. So I was like,
if you ever have
yeah.
to go to the hospital for anything. Mm. Nell said that restorative yoga helped her with insomnia, and it definitely helps you to relax. Okay. And she said she likes the idea of the wellness event. Miss Lily says she brought a family scrapbook to put old pictures in it. Yeah, I have tons of pictures and I have tons of photo albums, and I have keepsake boxes that have a lot of the same things that you were like mentioning, like, you know, obituaries from family members and things from people's weddings. So I definitely keep a lot of those mementos too. But I'm gonna pray that I don't have too many more bad dates left in my future. I have
Yes,
good dates.
lay hands on that one.
Yes, yes. But should I have one or two more bad dates, I'm gonna keep a souvenir so I can look back years from now when I'm happily married and be like, this was crazy.
Like,
So, all right. So if you guys have any last minute questions, go ahead and pop those in the chat as we start to wind down our interview. So I'll ask you a question I've been asking everyone this season. We are in a pandemic. I feel like you've already kind of touched on some things that you've been doing, like, you know, finishing your book and restorative yoga. But what would you say are some things you've been doing to kind of help you stay sane as we go through this crazy time in history?
I have been, again, it's so funny. It's like my life has not been the same, really, to be honest. My life really hasn't been the same since the Friday before the Super Bowl, because that's the weekend that I got sick, and like I literally was in and out the hospital for like, oh, and then finally settled into surgery that week. So I literally was like thinking today, like I have not, like, especially like thinking about my job, I was like, I have not been in a regular setting since that Friday before the Super Bowl, because even like that week I had went back to work after being sick for 2 days, went back to work for a day that was already an abnormal day at work, and then I went home and knew that night that I was going to have to go to an emergency, and then that is when I was home for 6 weeks, and then the week I was supposed to come back to work, the like return to the building, we went into quarantine. So it literally was like, okay, like for 6 weeks if I felt abnormal, and then I was like, okay, as soon as I get back to work I'll feel more normal, and then it was like, oh, like, no, this has been like a whole thing. So what I, again, talking about like what you've been through, I think the 6 weeks was prepper me. I think I'm handling it a little bit better because the 6 weeks was prepping me. So I had some strategies during the 6 weeks of, like, Veronica's used to moving and she can't move. So I had strategies then for not being able to move. So like I was like, okay, like, during those 6 weeks was like, well, every day we'll put on new pajamas and and make sure we feel good. Like, you just feel good what I have. And then, and I remember then I was like, okay, if I see one visitor a week, I would be happy. Like that was like what I was thinking in those 6 weeks. And I had more than one per week. It ended up being a lot of people visiting, including you. But I was just like, but I knew in my mind at that time, it was like, I'm a people person. And I was just like, okay, if I just see one person a week in person, I'm good. So then when the quarantine happened, it was like, wow. But then I started getting into walking, and then like my surgery prevented me from being able to walk the way I used to walk. So I only could do like 15-minute walks, but I was pushing myself. So I was like, okay, the walk made me feel good. like mentally and physically. So then I was like, okay, if I can just do 15-minute walk a day, I'll do a 15-minute walk. And then that just started progressing to like 30 minutes, and it was an outing for the day. So like, it was just like, okay, if anything, if I got a walk in, it was my outing for the day. So then like, I think the same thing, like now it's like, okay, I got to see my parents or somebody once a week, and then now that we've been like Zoom calling, so then it's like, I have days where I'm like, okay, sometimes I'm zoomed out, but then some days I'm like, you know what, on my lunch break, I need to see somebody's face.
Right.
Like I need to see somebody's face, and and I might call a friend or something on my lunch break. Other than that, just trying to do everything as normal as possible, if that makes sense. Um, so it's just like, like some people are like, oh, if I was working at home, like I wouldn't get dressed or whatever. Like I wouldn't be that dressed up for work. And I'm like, no, I'm going to get dressed for work just like I usually do, because that makes me feel more normal, even though it's
Right.
a different way. I'm like, and I'm like, and I have all these clothes, like why not use them? So it's just like, so every day I'm just, wearing those clothes that I like to wear, or usually would wear, to work. And, just, put like some days I have makeup on, sometimes I don't, but it's just, just trying to keep as many things that I like, that serenity thing where certain things you can control and other things you can't. So it's like, okay, there's certain things that I can control. I control, how I dress for the day. I can control whether I wear makeup or not. I can control like how I wear my hair. So it's like different things. I can control my exercise habits. So it's just like, so those things that, like I can, just knowing and realizing the things that you do have control over. And it's like, no, I don't have control over other people's actions, but I can control like the way that I'm handling certain things. And and then like, my mom was saying, like, she's retired, both my parents are retired, and she was saying that she just gives her something that she wants to accomplish each day. So she's, so it's like, whether it's just get the dishes done, that could be just one thing that makes you feel like you made an accomplishment. So like the other day I was thinking like just creating, a harmony between everything. It's like, okay, if I do one thing for my mental each day, one thing for my house each day, one thing for like just these different areas that I'm like, if I feed it in some way each day, then I won't feel like
you're staying balanced.
yeah. So it's like, so those are the different ways that I've been trying to deal with it, and just, staying in communication with my family and my friends, and, just not cutting that off. Like you really realize how much you miss and love people when it's like this type of thing. And you're like, and then, but you're talking to people more, right? So I'm talking to you more.
Yes.
So like you're talking to people more that like you wouldn't have had as many conversations with. And so it's just, so it's so many like, there's things that have been not so nice about this experience, but there's been other things that, has been great about it. So it's funny, when I think back to that scrapbook thing, it's like, wow, this is probably something we should all be journaling. Like, because this is a huge part of history. And I do believe we're going to be looking back, our kids when, when your son is older and in school, like maybe when he's in the 5th grade, they're going to look back to this and be like, and he'll be like, I barely remember that. Like,
he'll be like, tell me about the pandemic. And I'll say, well, you were driving me crazy, but
so it's just like, so
you were also really cute.
Yes.
So I like a couple of the things that you said. And like, speaking of my son, he's 2.5. And one thing people say a lot about toddlers and small children, because they can be challenging, is that, oh, it helps if you let them, if they get outside, it helps a lot. Getting them outside helps a lot. And I feel like we forget that as we become adults. And like all of these toddlers are really teeny people. So if it helps them to get outside, it probably helps us to get outside. So like you going for that walk. And I noticed I've gone through it for a lot of walks as well, because I've been getting him outside. I think that there's really something to that fresh air change of scenery, you have to put on some kind of clothes. I mean, you can go for a walk in pajamas, but I don't advise it. So I do think that there's really something to that getting outside. And I like what you said about keeping as many things normal as you can and like getting dressed every day. And for most of the pandemic, I've lived in like workout clothes because I was trying to keep being, having a daily workout in
So you had no excuses. Like, we ready? So
a priority. So I would put my workout clothes on. Right, like I'm already got them on. But just in a few weeks of putting on Chasing Joy show, which is making me like put on like real clothes and like actually like some makeup, and like I realized like, oh, I forgot that I could look like this after like, all these months of being home. And it is a mood boost, definitely, when you kind of go about some of your normal beauty and fashion routines. So I appreciate those. Janice said, get dressed, that she gets dressed to report to the dining room table. Yes, that's where I work as well, the dining room table. Miss Lily says she tries to read some wellness books such as How to Plan a Happy Life. Oh, I have to look into that one. Shane says he has an old scrapbook and his sister's old report cards and some rewards are in there. Why do you have my report cards? That's interesting. I thought I had all my old report cards, but apparently not. Ms. Lee says, stay in touch with family members is also important to keep you happy. Yes, I would say, I don't want to put a blanket term, but stay in touch with all family members. Not that I don't love my family, but I am a firm believer in like protecting your space and avoiding joy thieves. So definitely stay in touch with the family members and friends who pour into you and that you can pour into as well, and not just those who kind of suck all your energy away. So, protect your space. Janice says she feels more productive when she has on regular clothes as opposed to wearing pajamas. Yeah, I mean, one of my very first, I think it might have been my second Chasing Joy event, was with a stylist, Erica, who I'll probably have on Chasing Joy show maybe in season 2. And I had her on because I feel like a lot of people feel like, outward appearance is like vanity or like frivolous, but we don't realize sometimes how you look on the outside has a direct impact on how you feel on the inside. And a lot of times it's just effort. Like when you've put some effort into your outside appearance, it makes you feel better about yourself. Yes. As opposed to when you just kind of, throw on a coat over your PJs and go about your day, which people do sometimes. And I'm not saying it's wrong to do that all, here or there, you got to run an errand or something, but you definitely, I think, feel better when you've put more effort into it. Nell says fresh air and vitamin D is good and we all need it. Yes, absolutely. And I have increased my vitamin D vitamins, which is good to do for people of color in the winter anyway, because all this wonderful melanin that be popping also keeps that vitamin D from being absorbed. And when it's wintertime, we need more, and vitamin D has a definite effect on your mood. And Miss Lily says she tries to take a drive to the state park and do some sightseeing of people and animals. Yeah, getting in nature helps. And I'm not a nature person, so my idea of getting in nature is like, I'm gonna stay on this path and look at the nature a few feet away. I'm not trying to like sit in the grass, touch the nature, but whatever your comfort zone is with nature, I definitely think it helps. So Veronica, like, what's next for you? And like, where can we keep up with you? I mentioned we can all go and buy your book and click the link that's in the description for the video to get it from Amazon. But what's next?
I have a page called Veronica's Right Time, which I created after I published a book, and I've just created it so that I could post, all things writing / literacy related. So I'll just be posting some things weekly in it that I find interesting, and that's something that I just started. So I also have a page called Veronica's Poetic Eats, and it's full of poetry that I've written. But Veronica's Right Time is something that I'll be playing with because I'll be, in a process of finding some different ways to promote my book. And I might start running contests or something like that. But right now, I'm just, filling that process out of, really trying to have a page that people are engaging in. So it's definitely something new for me. I would like to get back into the actual picture that you used on the poster for this. That day, I was made up because I went to a virtual audition. So, and the virtual audition was for a casting company. And then once if you register with a casting company, they'll let you know any projects that are coming up. And something that I'm of interest in right now is possibly doing some voiceover work. So, but the idea of doing something virtually, acting wise, is also interesting. I don't know how they would, I really don't know other than like commercials, like how people would put it together, but that's kind of interesting to me. But, but right now, I am doing I'm spending a lot of time getting things done in my day job. So I said to myself, I'm gonna let that take a back burner. And I told the company that I would probably be more engaging with them towards the summertime when I have more time off. And I would start to just right now, any energies for that I would have dedicate to the Veronica's Right Time. And also I am president of Montgomery County's chapter of Black Women's Education Alliance. So that is an organization of educators, and we work together and do fundraising events and networking with each other. So if you know any educators or anybody that you think would be interested in that, you can always send them my way. And it's just a great group of people to converse with and learn. And even those women that are educators, they're doing other things. So it's just a great group to be a part of and give back to the community and find a community of women that you can talk to and relate with.
So I'm going to tag Veronica's Right Time in the comments, like after we're done with the live. And Veronica, I'm going to invite you to share in a group. What is it? Is it Black Women Educators Alliance? What did you say it's called?
Black Women's Education Alliance.
Education Alliance. So I'll invite you to share a link to that in the group when you get a chance as well. And I'm going to tell everybody to buy Veronica's book. So I'm not one to tell people things are good when they're not good. So say Veronica wrote this book and it wasn't good, I would have been like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing, you wrote a book. And then that would have probably been the end of it. But it's actually a really good book because I am a person who gets nervous. And I feel like even though it's a children's book, I could relate to it. Especially, I'll show you guys this picture here. And this like reminded me of me. It's this lady, she's home. And it says, should I have guessed? Right? So that definitely reminded me of me because I like people, but then sometimes I get a little anxious with some social stuff. And like inviting people over and someone's first time in your space can make you nervous. So I really related to the book a lot as an adult, and I feel like it's something in here for all of us. So buy the book, okay? Buy it for yourself, for the little people in your life. Buy it and dedicate it. Donate it to your daycare or your library or your school or your kids' school. But definitely buy the book. And I would say having a 2.5-year-old, I've read my share of children's book, and they ain't all good. This one was really dumb, and I had to throw it away. And I really respect books, but it was an alphabet book, like A is for Apple and so forth. And it just picked the worst examples. Like it had W is for Washington, and it had a picture of, I guess, a quarter, or I don't even know, whatever coin has a photo of a building from Washington, D.C. on it. And I'm like, really? W is for Washington? Like, this is what they came up with for a toddler book? And they had M is for monster. And I'm like, really? Like monster? Like not mouse? It was not a good book. So not all children's books are good, and Veronica's is good. So I think everybody should go out and buy it. So before I let you go, I'm going to ask you my last two questions, which are kind of like a throwback to when I was doing the Chasing Joy quarterly newsletter. And I always ended the newsletter with the same two questions, which were, what is the last trip that you went on? And what is the last movie that you saw?
The last trip that I went on, I think it was at the end of the summer. I drove. My brother lives in Maryland, and I hadn't seen him since before my surgery. So hadn't seen him since, and I mean way before my surgery, because last Christmas his family had the flu, so I didn't go see him, and then I got sick, so then I didn't go see him another time that my parents drove down. So like all that stuff had happened, the pandemic, my surgery, my major surgery, and I hadn't seen him in person. So I had one day I was supposed to go to a beach, and it ended up raining. So I said, I'll just go down. And I called my sister-in-law up, and I said, don't tell him I'm coming, I'm just gonna come. So then, so he was at work, and then I had got there, and I was sitting on one side of the counter, and he came in, from work, and he's talking to my sister-in-law, and I'm giggling because I know like he has no idea that I'm sitting here, and then like the expression on his face when he saw me was just priceless. It was like, okay, I was supposed to be here, not at the beach. So
that's so nice.
So I just had like a really huge hug from him and everything, and it was so good to see him and see the rest of his family. So that was the last trip that I have. The last movie, oh gosh, it was, what was the last movie I saw? I feel like it was on, the one that's standing out to me, it was a Christmas movie, and it had Kelly Rowland in it. It was a Christmas movie on Amazon Prime. I had to spend money for it, but it was nice. It was a cute movie.
Okay.
It was a movie about her getting married at Christmas time, and everything was going wrong with like the plans for the wedding, but
Right.
it ended up working out, and it was really
Like a feel-good movie.
It was a feel-good movie.
Nice. Well, Veronica, this has been great. Thank you so much for being on the Chasing Joy show. Thank you for getting your book written. I'm hiding mine from Baby Joy Chaser because he will rip the pages out.
Yeah,
so I have it put away for safekeeping. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you everyone who's been watching
Thank you.
Live in the Facebook group. And next week we're back with the last, I think it's going to be the last episode of season 1 of the Chasing Joy show. I'm going to have Shamora Hollinger on. She is the person who created the group Mama's Mark, which is a mom group dedicated to providing like a safe space for moms to connect and do self-care and think about what kind of mark they want to leave on the world and their child's life. So she will be with us next week for the Chasing Joy show. So until then, have a great rest of the night,
All right.
Great week, and I will see you all next week. Bye.
All right. See you.